Hey guys, so I'm here with my April reading wrap up. I read a total of 18 books in April and I have them all written down, typed up here so I don't forget any. I read 6 physical books and 12 books on my Kindle, so let's get into this. As always, starting with the physical books that I've read. I read the first 2 books in the Immortal Beloved trilogy by Kate Tiernan, I think is how you say her name, and the first one is Immortal Beloved, and then book 2 is Darkness Falls. Both of these got 5 out of 5 stars. I think in the US they're marketed as YA, but over here in the UK they're marketed more towards adults, and they're about these immortals that basically go to this rehab and all about their past lives. It focuses, the main character is Nastasia, and she basically discovers that her family was one of the major powerhouses with this immortal magic, and maybe people want to kill her. And then what was really fascinating was reading about all the immortal sort of lives that they've lived, because they aged much slower and they changed their identities, and seeing what they lived through was really interesting. There is a romance element, but it's really light. It really only comes into play towards the end of this one, and it's touched again briefly in this one, but I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes in book 3. So yeah, both of those got 5 out of 5. As soon as I finished this one, I went straight onto this one because I was really enjoying it. Then I read a new adult novel, which was The Secret of Ella and Micah by Jessica Sorensen. A blog review has actually already gone up for this, so I'll leave that down below if you want to know more about it. But it was a really great book. This also got 5 out of 5. Basically, Ella and Micah have been best friends forever, and then suddenly, about the time they turn 16, their feelings change towards each other. But Ella can't really handle it, and then after a personal tragedy, when she feels like she's got too close to Micah, she runs away for 8 months, and Micah tries to hunt her down, but she has to return, and it's them basically dealing with their feelings. It was really good. So book 1 in a series. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with them. And then I read Whiskey Beach by Nora Roberts. This was fantastic. It's the best Nora Roberts book I've read in a really long time. It's quite a beast, as you can see, and I think I liked this one out of her books because it's told more in the guy's point of view than in the girl's point of view. Now, as she normally writes, a lot of chick lit, sometimes she writes in the guy's point of view, but it's normally, a chapter here, a chapter there. But this is, for the majority, in Eli's point of view, and it was really interesting. Eli was a criminal attorney, and he's basically accused of murdering his wife. He's hounded by a detective that's convinced that he did it. So he moves back to Whiskey Beach, where his old family house, Bluff House, is located, and he's trying to get into writing, and he meets a woman called Abra, but his problems don't really leave him. They follow him, and basically it's him and Abra trying to find out who killed his wife. It was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. I was hooked. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed this one. Definitely recommend checking it out. Don't be put off because it's Nora Roberts. I really loved it. Then I also read Pretty Little Liars by Sarah Shepherd, and I don't know why, but suddenly out of nowhere I just felt I need to read Pretty Little Liars. I don't know why. I haven't been hearing about it or seeing it anywhere. I was just suddenly pulled towards it. I think it was because in April I've suffered from a reading slump. Now, you may think, you read 18 books, how could you have suffered from a reading slump? But I'll get into that a little later. But I just didn't know what to read, and suddenly out of nowhere I wanted to read Whiskey Beach and then Pretty Little Liars. So I did. Really enjoyed this. It felt like a guilty pleasure as I was reading it. I was like, this is so sort of scandalous and juicy. It just felt like, a guilty pleasure read. I already have a favourite liar, and that's Aria. followed by Spencer, followed by Emily, followed by Hannah. I felt Hannah was kind of whiny. I didn't really like her at all, but I did like the others, and this definitely felt, like a much needed sort of setup book. There was more to it than that, but it was obviously introducing us to the four girls and their history with Alison, and letting us see what secrets they have. And I can obviously, in the later books, all the secrets are going to start spilling out. So I'm really looking forward to continuing the series. What did I give this? I gave it 4 out of 5. Yeah, really enjoyed this. And the last physical book that I read was The Slither Sisters by Charles Gilman, book 2 in the Tales of Lovecraft Middle School. Really enjoyed this. I read Professor Gargle last month, and it was a fantastic middle grade read, and this was just as good, if not better. The action, the monsters, it's all just amped up in The Slither Sisters, and the last 40 to 50 pages of this book, edge of my seat. I mean, it was a fantastic middle grade read, and the illustrations in it are fantastic. The end of this book is killer. I can't wait to read Teacher's Pest. Gave this 5 out of 5. Okay, on to the Kindle books that I read. Because I read so many, I've kind of bunched a load of them together to show you the covers and stuff, because of this reading slump that I was telling you about. Basically, I just hit like the middle of April. I was like, I don't know what to read. I felt like I should be reading, like I wanted to be reading, but I was like, I don't know what to read. I didn't feel like picking anything up, and I hate when I feel like that, because obviously I love reading so much. So then when I feel like I'm hitting a block, I'm like, why? I want to be reading. So basically I went through a bunch of books on my Kindle that were freebies, and I just thought maybe I'll read one of these and it will like get me back into reading, and I ended up reading a ton of them. So I'm just going to basically show you them, and the ratings that I gave a lot of them, because a lot of them are just like adult chick lit freebies and stuff that I don't really have a lot to say about, but I did read. So I'm just going to put up a little montage thing of those Kindle reads that I read. But I did read some other books on my Kindle. I read Crossing the Line by Katie McGarry. This is a little Pushing the Limits novella, which is about Echo from Pushing the Limits' best friend Lila and her relationship with a guy called Lincoln, and we have both their points of view, and they basically started a sort of pen pal friendship when Noah's brother died, and they met at his funeral, and they've sort of kept in touch ever since. But unbeknownst to the other one, they've both fallen in love with each other, but they haven't told the other. And then Lincoln does something that Lila considers unforgivable, and he goes to actually meet up with her and tell her he's sorry. It was cute, but I felt it was really anticlimactic. Like, you were waiting and waiting for them to get together, and then suddenly it ended. I basically wanted more from it. It was still really good. I still really enjoyed reading it. I read it in about an hour because it was so short. I still gave it 4 out of 5. Fans of Pushing the Limits will definitely want to check it out because Katie McGarry's writing is just amazing. So I still really enjoyed it. I just kind of wanted more from it. I also read, to be part of the book tour, getting all my words twisted today. It's because I have to remember so many darn books these days. I read Unbelievable by Sherry Gammon. This is the long-awaited sequel to Unlovable. I read Unlovable last year and absolutely loved it. And this centres on 2 different characters. A guy called Cole. He's an ER doctor. He's really cute and kind of adorable. He's really klutzy, except when he's in the ER. And Delilah, who is the daughter of this drug dealer whose sons feature largely in book one, and they're, spoiler alert, they're killed in book one, and he sends Delilah to Port Fair to basically take revenge, but she ends up falling in love with Cole, and it's really, really cute. I think between the two I preferred Unlovable, but Unbelievable was really, really good, and I still gave it 5 out of 5 because I did really, really enjoy it. And like I said, I was part of the blog tour for that, so I basically posted my review, and there was a link to a big giveaway, which is now ended, unfortunately. But it was so great to be asked to take part because I really do love the series, so it was great. Then I also read Saved by Kelly Elliott. This is a new adult novel. As you know, I'm reading more and more of these, and it's book 2 in the Wanted series. I read book 1 earlier this year. I really, really enjoyed it. I was both eagerly anticipating and dreading Saved at the same time because um, whereas book 1 is about characters called Ellie and Gunnar, book 2 centres on their friends Jeff and Ari, and I wasn't keen on either character in book 1. I felt Ari just like would stream off these long sentences with nothing but swear words in, and I found like that was completely unnecessary. And Jeff was just a dick. Excuse my language, but he was. I didn't like him in book 1. However, I really grew to like them both in this book. And I felt I think I gave this one, what did I give it? 4.5 out of stars, which it 4.5 out of 5 stars, which is a whole 1 star more than what I gave Wanted. Looking back, I think I judged Wanted really harshly, and I would probably have given it 4 out of 5. But really enjoyed this one. I can't say too much about it because it would be majorly spoilerish. However, I'm really looking forward to book 3, which is Faithful. One thing I will say about Saved was that I'm sick of every time they play music or they go to a club or there's like a wedding or some event, all they play is Christina Aguilera. I'm actually just sick of it now. It's like they don't listen to anything else, and it just kept popping up, and in the end I was just like, I hate Christina Aguilera now. You've killed it for me. Absolutely killed it for me. Because it's all they would play, and I just had enough. It's like, get a wider taste in music, you damn character. that's really the one thing that stood out most, was that I hated. Um, let's see. And yeah, that's no, it's not everything. I read one more book, and that was Resisting Her by Kendall Ryan. I can't believe I almost forgot to put this in here. It was like one of, if not my favourite book of the month. I've been eagerly awaiting this one's release. I read Hard to Love by her earlier on this year. I think it may have been February, could have even been January. Really, really enjoyed it. I had a few issues with it, but this one was so much better. It's about an FBI agent named Cole who does this raid on sort of a cult slash commune, and he finds Savannah, and she's I think 19 at the time, and he can't sort of get her out of his head, and so he sort of takes her in, and they sort of build this friendship that then turns into a relationship kind of thing. It For me, it was so much better than Hard to Love. Completely addictive, reading it in one like evening. I couldn't put it down. I was reading this until about 4 in the morning because I could not make myself turn my Kindle off. I was just so into it. There is a fair amount of sex in it, but it doesn't happen till about like halfway, and then it's suddenly like mostly sex. That's a bit of a like exaggeration, but still really, really enjoyed it. Loved the characters in it. Loved the like epilogue. It was so sweet. So yeah, if you like new adult slash slightly more adult novels, definitely recommend checking this one out. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Also in April, I went to see The Host. Um, it's hard to sort of quantify my feelings for that movie because I've been waiting for the Host movie for ages now, and I did really, 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 really enjoy it. I thought they cast a brilliant person as Wanda. Same for Jared. Not sure on Ian. But my one issue, which has kind of put a dampener on the whole thing, is that my favourite part of the book isn't in the movie. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and it didn't happen, and I was kind of heartbroken. Exact same thing happened with the Twilight movie. My favourite part, not in it. In case you're wondering what my favourite part was in the book, it's the part right at the end, where Ian says to Wanda, "I held you in my hand, Wanderer, and you were so beautiful," and it wasn't in the movie, and part of me died that night, not seeing it because it's my favourite part of the whole book and it's not there. So that's everything that I read in April. May has got off to a slow start actually, reading wise. I'm currently reading a book for review, and I've basically done everything I can to sort of avoid reading it because I've started it and it's not hooked me, and it's just like, and I basically like spring cleaned my bedroom for like 3 hours rather than pick this book up, which sounds really bad, but it's just not grabbed me, and yeah, which sounds so stupid. So I will see you guys soon, and happy reading.